Welcome to the live stream. I don't I don't know why I just get giddy when I see, man. I smile and I laugh and I want to be happy. So how are you?
Yeehaw.
Amazon, Amazon cowboy and the Amazon janitor coming at you.
Mop's been out lately, right?
What's that?
The mop has been out lately, right?
The mop.
Janitor, mop.
Oh, I'm not a very good janitor. I don't even know what tools I'm supposed to be using. But for everyone that is here, welcome to From East to West, Amazon AMA, where you get to come on and ask us anything about Amazon. Brett and I have both been in the Amazon space for a while. I started. Let's give a little history. Let's give a little context. So, I started working with Amazon back in 2011. I had started an e-commerce business in 2010, and I started on eBay of all places, which is kind of crazy when I think about it now, just knowing how small a percentage of market share they have. But as soon as I got things up and running on eBay, had done that for about a year. I brought on Amazon, and the rest was, I guess, somewhat history. It just really quickly grew, and I mean, I learned a lot really quickly. Made a lot of mistakes very early on. I mean, like first couple orders, I remember selling some stuff and not shipping it right away, like being a little lax about it, and I was like immediately suspended. And I reached out to my buddy. I was like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, you can't mess around. Like, you have to be legit. And I was like, okay. So, kicked into gear and just dealt with a lot of stuff. And there were not a lot of resources out there too. So it was looking on help or dealing with what seller support told you, which was, I think, more credible back then. But then there was, there were some people that were talking about Amazon things in a public forum. Like, honestly, Chad Rubin would, of Crucial, originally Crucial Vac, and then I think Crucial, and then Skibana and Prosper and now Prophecy. So I mean, he's been in the game for a really, really long time. It's just been really public too. So like, he was kind of a resource that I leaned into as well. But just learned a lot, getting my hands dirty, and am now working on the agency side, which has been very interesting and enlightening. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of change in the past 12 years. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself, Brett?
12 years, bro. That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I got pairs of underwear older than you. Actually, that doesn't make sense because 12 is a long time. Yeah, it would be the opposite if someone were young. Anyway.
When did I get in? I got in spring of 2016, I think it was.
Okay.
So
7 years now?
Yeah. I launched my product right before ReviewGate.
Oh.
Product.
Okay.
So we utilized all those tactics to get reviews by giving away the products, and then October it came around, October 2016, and they stopped that. So we got in right at a good time. But
it was the Wild West then, and it still is now.
It's still the Wild West. That's why I'm the cowboy. Yeah, same. I mean, there was only a handful of people that you can get resources from. There's one podcast, I'm skipping on his name right now, that I used to listen to a bunch. Oh man, I wish I could remember his name, but I don't remember it. But essentially that was it. And it was just trial by fire, and it was the forums. The forums were kind of where you went to kind of get some information and whatnot.
There's a decent amount of stuff in there. I did feel like there was sometimes some like non-credible information.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like bad mouthing Amazon, which they were watching. And I'm like, it seems kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everyone does.
Right. Just don't do it on the forums.
I mean, everyone badmouths Amazon just because they don't like their rules. But my thing is you gotta, if you want to be on it, you gotta play by their rules,
Got to play by the rules, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was my deal. 2016. Haven't been in the product space in a while. Thinking about getting back in it though. Pretty soon here, and doing our own brand again. So that should be fun. But yeah, been in the agency side, freelancer side, consulting side. Just been in it,
The West Side.
the west side.
I I I've thought about that as well. Um, the about being on the branded side, and it gives you a little bit more freedom to test. It could potentially be a great revenue stream as well. The difference now, and we were talking about this when we were together in November on our fall date. We 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 were talking about how the cost to invest and be on Amazon, it's so much greater now. It is not, I'm going to spend a couple $100 on an item, may
Yeah,
turn into a couple thousand, and then I can just keep going snowballing. I mean, it is serious investing, and it's any business is not profitable right away.
yeah,
That's something that I talk about with brands all the time. Like, you are going to have to make an investment. And honestly, I think that sometimes scares people away, but I'd rather be honest and set expectations from the get-go than have people thinking I'm just going to make a ton of money right away, because you could bring in sales, but it doesn't mean you're going to be profitable.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I started off with like our first order was like $150 to get our products. And we used to sell these essential oil jewelry bracelets. I think I can talk about it now. I sold business 2018. I think it's been 5 years now. But and it was $150. And we just bought it, like, I think we bought like 20 of each or 25 of each. Luckily the supplier was able to do that and was cool with that. Um, and then we sold out in like 2 weeks, and we were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, when you didn't even know selling out was not what you should be doing, but I really don't think the ante was as high then.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a little bit different now. But I think it's the same too. But I think it's different. I think it's there's
Basic
more.
principles are all the same.
Yeah, and there's more eyeballs on it now.
Yep.
Back then there wasn't as many eyeballs. You know, towards the end of our brand, we used to, like, we had the Chinese seller problem. And they would sell our exact product, but we found creative ways to kind of differentiate ourselves from them. One being packaging, one being um, um, the build of the products. It was better and stronger, but it's hard to beat price sometimes. So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun ride. I think I've been thinking about, if I get back into it, like doing some kind of like follow along my journey kind of deal, but we'll see how that goes.
I mean, that is I've seen a couple of people on Twitter that are like, "Hey, we're going
Yeah.
to build a brand, and we're going to do it in public," which is really interesting and very honest. Most people aren't willing to share the behind the scenes, and the reality is, it's very complex and it's very difficult. Just in any stage, getting in and doing it well, it can be very overwhelming. So I think pacing yourself, even from a product standpoint. I mean, there are people who have hundreds of items in the catalog, and they just want to get all these hundreds, maybe even 1,000 items up. And you could do that, but is it really, and you might get some sales, but is it really going to help you get market share? And
Yeah.
I'd argue no. I'd say, especially if you have a limited budget for advertising, put what you can towards 10, 20 items, and really focus in there.
That's a good point. I think I think on the agency side, you and I've learned a ton about more about like market share, and more about spreading wide within a niche, different products within a certain niche, and kind of owning that niche a little bit, working with some of these brands I do with now. I mean, one's doing like $1 million on Amazon a month. So it's learning from those. There's different learning stages from that. So you can always take those and kind of bring them back to whatever you're doing and apply those to other, situations. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's what we did. We started rolling out different products and expanding it. I think everyone likes to like hit the home run right off the bat, and
Yeah.
if it's not doing one product's not doing $1 million in sales and $300,000 in profit, then it's a bust. But it's like, let's take a step back and look at it a different way, and then like put I guess rope in your expectations a little bit.
Well, and think about where it's going to be, not just in a year, but where's it going to be in 2 years?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean there won't be more competition, but you'll be ahead of the game if you're doing it correctly. You will have cemented sales history. You will have stronger indexation. You'll rank higher for the things you want to rank higher for. And when you get up into those top placements, you don't really have to pay as much. You really shouldn't have to pay as much from an advertising standpoint because you're already there, strong ranked organically. Now you could fall off, but once you're it's a tough road to get there, but once you do get there, that's when things really start to pay off. But it is not an easy journey, and it is so category dependent. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to launch in office supplies, you've got a much different road ahead of you than being in beauty.
Yeah, and I think the conversation around cash flow isn't around that much. Like, I mean, look at some of the biggest sellers that you and I know. I mean, a lot of them are doing other things other than selling product.
Yeah.
Having a community, having a learning program, doing all this stuff, and you can make assumptions, but it's some people are in it for the right reason, but some people cash flow purposes. You grow up, you have kids, you whatever, inflation, economy. And there's a couple people that do live off of their Amazon business. I mean, they're definitely out there. But I think that's an important topic too, is just cash flow and how that works.
If you want to make, if you anyone that's launching on Amazon or is really wanting to scale and grow, if you're wanting to take an actual salary from that, within the first 6 months, you're probably shortchanging yourself because you're going to feel like you're failing because there's not going to be a lot of profit in it, and you're not going to see the big picture, and you're going to probably pull out sooner than you need to. And it's a constant conversation that we have with brands all the time is you have to lean into this. You have to push the advertising. You got to stay in stock of stuff. You can really nail those things. We're going to make sure that things look optimized and that from an ads and from a product detail page standpoint. But if you're not doing those two things, which it doesn't happen. I mean, it happens, where people falter on those more than you think, or, hey, let's pull back on ad spend because, we want to kind of see what the results are going to happen. And we have to push people and say, no, you can't pull back here. You're not at a place where, you're at just top of search for all this stuff. And you've been there for a while too, because you might get there, but are you going to stay there? That's the other thing. You have to really build that position in and keep that position strong. And then you can start to, I think, play with some of those profitability levers. But if you're, like, oh, let's see what happens, that's an experiment that you're going to lose. And I think it's maybe grass is always green on the other side, or let's just see what can happen. But if you've got people who know what they're doing and they're telling you need to lean in, you need to lean into that. And it's not like if you're seeing all of your metrics like rank be down and all these other things, you're not seeing any progress on some of these tertiary things. So like, yes, we're looking for sales. Yes, we're looking for units sold. But if you can look at other things like how many impressions am I getting? What kind of clicks am I getting? Is my click-through rate good? Just from an advertising perspective, if you're going for top of search, how much percentage of top of search am I getting? When I'm looking at video views, am I getting a lot of views? Are people watching a lot? Are they viewing it all the way through? At what quartile of the video are they looking at? Those are things from an ad perspective you can measure. And then from an organic perspective, what does my conversion rate look like? Does it look strong? You can go into brand metrics and advertising and look at your product conversion rate in comparison to the rest of your category and see, is there room for improvement? And if you're above everyone else and it's still not the standard, imagine what it could be if you were improving that product detail page. But looking at conversion rate, looking at sessions, looking at your BSR as an identifier of, are you making progress, because the sales don't always happen right away. And then looking at your placement in search. I mean, those are all things that are telling you, okay, we're moving in the right direction. But if that's not happening and you're just dumping money into advertising, then yeah, that could be a big waste of time. And that's what people are afraid of, but that's not always what's happening if you're tracking it correctly.
Yeah, there's so many pieces to the puzzle. And so you got to be able to know how to navigate that puzzle, sort of say. So you might think conversion rates like the problem, but maybe it's the qualified traffic that's coming to your product page, you know? So maybe it's dialing that in. It could be inverse as well. So I think that's important for everyone, is you got to identify what the issue is. But if you're identifying the wrong issue, that could be a problem, you know, because then you're spending time on the wrong issue rather than the right issue.
So I think a good example for people would be, let's walk through, if you're experiencing a slow sales on a product, there are a couple things that you can look at. Actually, and when I mean slow sales, I mean, let's say a product was selling well and it's starting to decline. There's a couple of things that you could do to start to triage that situation. What are some of the things that you would look for, Brett, if you're seeing a product sales start to decline? Where do you go to determine what's going on?
That's a good question.
I know it's a good question.
A couple different things that I always like to look at first is there like a slap on the wrist for this product that we don't know about? In other words, is there some kind of red flag from Amazon?
That's supposed to be start, by the way. That's start.
What? Oh,
doing your product sales start to decline. Anyway, so is there is there some kind of policy violation?
Yeah, is there some kind of policy violation? I mean, I witnessed this late last month, early this month, and it was and this, there can be lots of debates about this, but all caps in your bullet points, those little pipe delimiters in your title, it's like those are technically against TOS, but everyone still is like, oh, I've seen them all everywhere. But it's like, yeah, maybe you have, but it's like those things. Like Amazon can do sweeps that people are like, well, I didn't read anything about it, so it's not happening. But it's like, just refresh your stuff to where it's supposed to be first and foremost, because what if Amazon has like a basically ghost banned you, and deranked you because of you have these things in your listings. So I would start there. So refresh your listings to where they should be. One that I saw recently was the bullet points, where the character limits were too long. So shortening those up according to your category. Some categories are okay with 250. Some want less than 200. Some want less than 100. So it's identifying those and maybe playing by the rules and shrinking everything and refreshing everything up. That's where I would start, number one. Number two would be traffic. Is traffic the same? Advertising, et cetera, organic and advertising traffic, that's high level. And then conversion rate. Are people still clicking in and buying the products? I mean, those are the three main high level things I'd look at. And then obviously you can go down from there.
All right. So I think those are all great things. What I would add on top of that is, if you look at conversion rate, look at that unit session percentage. And it was so interesting to me when I discovered that was conversion rate a long time ago. It's like, why don't they just call it conversion rate? Why call it that?
Caveat is, if you have a high subscribe and save percentage on items, that is included in that. So you can see your conversion rate sometimes above 100%. That's usually because of subscribe and save.
So that's a great call out. And when I see, if I see a change in conversion rate, so like one of the things I'll look for is, what has changed. So if I look for those kind of initial things like, are sessions down? Okay, our sessions down. Then, or what does conversion rate look like? I'll look month over month for the past, 30, 60, 90 days. What was conversion rate if we're in May now? What was conversion rate in April? What was conversion rate in March? If I start to see a slow decline, that is a leading indicator, but I know, or a trailing indicator, I need to look for the actual problem or the issue. So if conversion rate has dropped, I'm going to start looking for what's caused that. And if nothing's changed with images, if nothing's changed on the product detail page, and you have to look for some other things to measure it up against. So if my sessions are the same and my conversion rate has dropped, something's happened with trust, maybe with the product. So I'm going to look at, what is my star rating? Is my star rating decreased at all? That's often something that can drop your conversion rate. And I've seen conversion rates drop, 50%, even just with a half a star is what I've always seen as the standard. But I've seen it go from a 4.3 to a 4.2. And because Amazon only ranks by half stars, a 4.3 is considered a 4.5. 4.2 is considered a 4. So people looks like a half a star drop off. They're converting less. So
That seems like the sweet spot right there. That little 4.3 to 4.2. That's when usually things drop off a little bit.
Yeah, I think anything below 4, you're looking at like, is this really a viable product anymore? Because you've got so much uphill battle to there. It doesn't mean you can't recover it. And we've recovered stuff before, but you really have to do work on the product side too. So also, if you see review drop off, what's causing the review drop off? Okay, now I'm going to go into my review section. I'm going to start reading. I'm going to see what are the terms that people are talking about the most. If you can find a way to export all those, reviews and drop them into a chat GPT and say, hey, scan and tell me what are the most common issues here. There's a lot of different ways you could go about doing that. But yeah, look at what's causing it, get to your manufacturer and start making adjustments on that product sooner than later. It's going to take you probably a couple months to even get that product in stock. Maybe you have to launch it 2.0 and that's fine, but you need to find a way to increase the reviews there. So that's one thing that I look at. If like conversion rate's the same, but sessions are dropped, okay, where's my rank organically? Has that dropped off? What's happening in advertising? Am I getting less impressions there? Am I getting less clicks? If that hasn't changed in advertising, that's probably an organic problem. I'm going to look for organic rank, and I'm going to see, what else has changed in my category? Who has increased? I think I wanted to talk about this today. One of the most powerful tools I'm seeing is the top search terms. If you're a leading in a category and you can see, I was reviewing something last night. Someone in March was most clicked, most converted. April, they were still decent on conversions, most converted, but now least clicked. What changed there? What was the change look like? And then looking at the other two that were second and third, they're now getting more clicks. They're not necessarily getting more conversions, but they're getting more clicks. And people could, if they're making getting on a product detail page and you're not being seen on that first clicked product, maybe they're just, continuing that journey on page and not going back out to search, or maybe they're typing in another search. So you really have to think about, how can I be the most clicked? So then going and comparing those listings, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And if you're tracking them, or have they made changes that I could make that could help me to get ahead, or how could I do it even better than them?
Yeah, it's all good points.
What are some of the so I think if we're looking at how do you triage a situation, it's look for some of those what I would call trailing indicators, and then start digging deeper, start looking at everything. A lot of stuff is tied together. So
I always like to look at apples to apples too. So for instance, if you're looking at a certain period of time, let's just say you're looking at the past 2 weeks, you want to look at the previous 2 weeks and have it pretty similar. So for instance, like eat more apples. For instance, like like if your sessions are 2,500, and you want to kind of have the same data set to compare it to, because like what if you had a lightning deal or best deal
Yep.
on the other set? Obviously, your session is going to go way up. So I think that's an important thing to consider as well. Yeah.
Okay. What are some of I mean, Amazon's released a lot of reporting recently. I've been spending a lot of time in top search terms, analyzing brands, looking at how they're performing compared to other brands. What are some of the reports that you're leaning into right now?
Those ones, um, I haven't really leaned into much lately because I've been kind of out vacation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you have been
Yeah.
on vacation.
Yeah. So
You
I
lean
don't
into
have
that
experience.
Corona
Lots of
light report.
lots of margarita reports.
Yeah, check the salt report.
Yeah. Tahine and
Oh,
salt.
to check
The
the
salt
tahini.
report.
Yeah. So check if you're
Usually,
low.
usually if you have a margarita and you check your reports, you're a lot happier. So that's actual facts right there.
I mean,
So
I gotta
that's a
say,
good
I
tip.
think that's pretty, accurate. End of day or afternoon on a Friday, have a drink, and you're like, man, this is things.
Things
I'm
are
looking up.
looking
Things are
good.
looking good. Yeah. So any hot any hot new tips for people, or what's the thing? Anything that you've noticed that's changed that you feel like people need to be aware of on Amazon right now?
Your account health. That's the that's the biggest thing. Something about the re-verification in some new
It's
inform
happening
app.
for everyone, happening
Yeah,
for everybody. I had someone who's now been had to re-verify twice.
yeah, and it's I guess it's pretty buggy right now too.
Okay, well,
So
that's good to
uh,
know.
yeah, it's kind of people going through it. It freezes, and people are having like major like heart attacks from it. But I think
It's
it
the
makes
benefit
people,
of being in a community is you can talk to someone and say, hey, what are you seeing? It's a
yeah,
part that is a benefit of being in an agency too. Like, I'm seeing things across multiple accounts. Is that are those things the same, or are they different?
yeah. Twitter has actually become a really good platform for those particular things. LinkedIn is I've got opinions about LinkedIn, but I
Let's
like
hear them.
LinkedIn. But Twitter's become a really great spot for like on the spot what people are seeing. Oh, I've seen that too, or this is what I'm doing. So, and I think it's growing, truthfully, since I joined. So go on and follow me on Twitter, everyone. uh, but yeah, it's growing quite a bit, and it's a cool spot. There's a lot of really intelligent people on there. They can get
You
good
being
info
one of
from.
them.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Um, on with Brett. Let's
I
see,
mean, if
Twitter.
my biggest tip is anyone who's gonna join Twitter or get into Twitter, is like follow myself or you, and then just go look at the people that we're following and start following those people.
Yeah, there's a lot of great people out there. You've been a lot better than me about updates and being active on Twitter. And I mean, I even started spending more time in there partially because of your recommendation. There's definitely community there. I've also heard someone else say, that they were able to get business uh, on there, and I did have a really promising prospect from there, so that was helpful. There's people that want to grow and that are
Mhm.
open to learning. Where I think the negative thing about LinkedIn is people are feeling like they need to be really buttoned up,
Yeah.
maybe because it's professional, and putting on this air of here's what's up instead of being, I think, more human, more relatable, more authentic.
Yeah, I think Link or Twitter has become what LinkedIn was before, where it's a super abundant mindset. Everyone was kind of helping each other, and I think it's switched quite a bit. Where LinkedIn is just now like, look at what I've done. Here is buy more doggy coin. Look what
This AMA is not
Dogecoin or
sponsored by
Dogecoin
Dogecoin.
is going to go up now because we put that up
Yeah,
here.
yeah, but we are not sponsored by them, just so you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. We
So
can,
this
we
is
have
not
to say that we have no affiliation
I have
with
no
that
affiliation with them.
whatsoever.
This is not a pump and dump scheme. Just so you're aware. It's crazy how times have changed in that regard. Like so many people wanting to be influencers. I don't know how I actually feel about that. It definitely has helped a lot of brands. It's a really tricky spot to be in if you're an influencer. You are a reference now for people, and you have to have credibility there.
Yep.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I think get in some kind of community and ask around and start talking with people. There are people that are hungry to learn and open to learn and are willing to say, I don't know everything. They just want to, get it right. And I'd say lean into those people. You're definitely one of those cowboys. So I'd say, check out Amazon with Brett on Twitter. Check out Michael J. Marr on Twitter. Yes, that's how you say my last name. And start following some other people that are on there. I've noticed George Barnett Reed has been posting more on there. There's a lot of great people that are putting out information there. One of the things I wanted to mention before we go is I noticed that it's not consistent across the board because I've seen it show up different on different people's browsers. But Amazon has switched the 1,000 purchased to viewed 10,000 times. Have you seen that change?
Yeah, I posted that a little while ago. Yeah, I started seeing that. I don't think it's in every single category, but it's definitely starting to happen more.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's happening, and I imagine, honestly, it seems like it could be a little bit of a liability because um, you're now encouraging people basically to buy this thing more.
Yeah, I think they're just testing it. They're just testing one thing and then testing another and see which one works well. It's usually what they do.
All right, well, um, this has been another session of From East to West, Amazon AMA, and what's this QR code thing? Oh, you guys want to donate to the show? There you go. Scan
Oh
that QR.
wow,
I don't even know where that goes, honestly.
nice.
Support. Oh, here's another one. Support this stream, guys. Buy me a coffee. Actually, buy me a $5 margarita. I'll take that any day. So, yeah, it's been real, man. Let's do this again in a couple weeks. We're actually going to be live the second Thursday. Things have been kind of jumbled. I've been traveling. Brett's been traveling. So all really devoted followers out there, we're gonna be here on the second, and we'll start putting out, I think, more of this content, giving it to people and sharing it so that they've got stuff to look at. But yeah, we out.